Modernizing on-premise infrastructure can be a costly and challenging task. Fortunately, modernizing on Microsoft Azure is much simpler and it doesn't require upfront investment. And it is even easier for customers that are eligible to Azure Hybrid Benefit. Not only they receive significant discount, up to 55%, they also can continue running their systems both on-premise and on cloud for up to 180 days simultaneously. This significantly reducing risk of migration. And now let's switch to demo and look how we could migrate our on-premise SQL Server 2008 to Azure SQL Server. And I created the SQL Server. Here we have SQL Server 2008 Migrate SQL Database Service. And we will use the Azure Migrate Service to do that. And Azure Migrate Service is created now as a common hub for all your migrations and monitoring of your migrations. So there you have all the kind of migrations of servers, Windows or Linux. You could also migrate any kind of databases or even virtual desktop infrastructure. So, and the Azure Migrate is now created as a common hub with all these services and different kind of services you could use for assessment on migration. For example, let's look at if we want to migrate the servers, we could add migration tools and use these. Here we have couple of tools for migration. There are original Microsoft Azure tools and also third-party tools specially designed for some scenarios. You could use them for assessment of your infrastructure, or you could use also the tools for migration. And again, we have some Azure and Microsoft tools for migration and several third-party tools for migration. So it's very handful how we could do all the kind of migrations for web apps or data boxes. Let's look at databases. So I already created the database migration project, and we have the one migrated server, and we will start with assessment of our database. And when we click assess, we see that there are available tools for that, and we could start with downloading Data Migration Assistant, DMA tool. So we download it and install on our infrastructure where our SQL Server available. If we look at the SQL Server Management Studio, we see our SQL database. This controls a migrate. There we have two tables, customers and transactions. I created a for purpose smaller database to see the actual migration, and we will start with running assessment. So we run Data Migration Assistant on our infrastructure, and we will first assess our database and see is it prepared or packed for migration. We start with project name. You see there are two options, assessment or migration. We will start with assessment, SQL Server assessment. We choose database engine. We see source server. There are two options for that. We also could choose assessment type for integration services now available, and select one of the available target server types for this. As we see, we could migrate, or in this case, do assessment of migration to platform as a service or infrastructure as a service if we choose a SQL service on Azure virtual machine. But we will, as we've seen previously, we created already Azure SQL database, so we'll use this for assessment. And we do all the assessment. Use several options. So provide connection parameters. In this case, it's located on the same machine, so we could use a local host. And we see our database Contoso migrate. So let's add it to our assessment and start assessment. And it will show us all the compliance issues, if any, and is it ready for migration for our chosen destination. In this case, we see that there is SQL Server reporting services installed on this server, but not actually used. And we see that it's not supported by Azure SQL database. It's logical, so we need to do separate migration for that. If we choose, in case we choose virtual machine, Azure SQL Server on virtual machine, we could also migrate reporting services. But as we currently don't use on this server reporting services, we just skip it. And now we could upload this project and assessment to Azure Migrate hub, so to have it there and probably use it later, or use it for monitoring. And we choose a project, upload this assessment, and it's successful, so everything okay. Let's start directly from here. Also, migration project. We'll create separate migration project for this. Server type, choose this migration scope. In this case, we will migrate full database, including schema and data. Create, provide the connection string to existing server, which we want to migrate. And we have two databases here. We say that select Contoso migrate, provide the server. Here we have the destination server for our database. Also create connection with this database. And now we have several options where we could put our database. So here's SQL Server 2008 migrate, created just before this demo. Click next. And now we can select the scope of the database we want to migrate, in this case to tables, and we just generate SQL scripts. So if we need, we could use these SQL scripts for generating using Management Studio, but in this case we just use the script to deploy schema and then migrate data directly from the migration assistant tool. So we deploy schema, it's successfully deployed, and now we could click migrate data. All tables. By intention, I created small tables to just see that how it's really migrates during this demo. So all the tables migrated successfully, everything is okay. And now let's look and connect to this database using SQL Server Management Studio. We just say connect, provide this link to our migrated database, provide the connection string, connection credentials. They connect, and now you see that we have this Azure SQL database and all the databases here. Here's our currently migrated database with all the tables. So it's up and running, and now we could switch over application to this database, and if needed, switch off our on-premise server. I hope you liked this demo. Additionally, I invite you to check out the other two videos covering backend and disaster recovery and taking end-of-support systems to Azure Cloud if you haven't seen them.